La 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 la. Tumbled out of bed and stumbled in the kitchen, poured myself a cup of ambition and yawned and screamed and tried to summon Exodia. Dueling 9 to 5, what a way to play some card games. Hey! Hey, what's up guys? It's mine, Billany, LittleKuriboh, back again, once again, much akin to the Renegade Master. Here at Academy Island, totally, yeah. No, I've definitely not moved into a new house with a new studio setup, so it might sound a bit shit, or shitter. And if you're wondering why there was such a huge delay between episodes, it was not because of the terrible health conditions that I found myself in that had me bedridden for several weeks, at least. Real bad. But I'm getting better, I'm recovering. But it's not because of that. It's because of the dark Doomsday Duelists that showed up. What they called? The Children of the Night. I don't even remember what they're called. The Dark Side Duelists? They're definitely not Dark Signers, I know that. There's some other version of evil duelists. What are they called? I don't want to look it up. I want to remember. I want to try and remember from my brain, just from my memory, what these evil duelists were called, and I can't remember. And that is embarrassing, but also I bet it probably means that they don't have a very cool name. So I blame them for their branding. Hey, what's up guys? It's me, Martin Billany, LittleKuriboh, here with another episode of LittleKuriboh Watches Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I believe it's episode 30, episode 30. So we're getting there, we're getting up there. When you think about it, there's only 3 seasons of the show dubbed. I do want to still review everything past that as well, but when you think about it, I've taken out a sizable chunk of the dub of the show, so I feel like I should pat myself on the back a little bit. Taking sizable chunks out of dubs. It's ironic because when I get cast in a dub, you're putting a sizable chunk in a dub. Because I'm a sizable chunk. But yes, this show, if you are returning to it, or if you are a newcomer to it, you've probably forgotten what it's about and what's going on and what the deal is. So allow me to explain. Basically, in every episode of LittleKuriboh Watches Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, I watch an episode of LittleKuriboh. No, I do not watch a LittleKuriboh episode. My brain ain't doing so well today. I watch an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Right now, we're just doing the dub. We're not doing the Japanese version, we're just following the dub version. Expertly crafted and honed by the 4Kids Entertainment Company back in the day. And we watch each episode individually, and then I get on camera and I talk about my feelings. I talk about basically what happened step by step in the episode, and I react to every individual moment. It's not meant to be a review. I want to make it very clear. This is not me reviewing GX and telling you what I genuinely feel about it. I mean, I save that for the very end of the episode, but if I'm watching the show and I make all these snarky comments, it's not because I think the show is terrible, it's because I'm trying to be funny. Does not always work, but I try. Oh my god, do I try? That was an example. But yes, we are going to try and watch every episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and who knows, maybe even some more spin-offs after I'm done with this. Might take a while. But we're going to watch every episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX at the very least, so stick with me, and you'll know everything. Or at least you'll know as much as I do, which is something. I actually don't know much, but I get by. I get by with the limited Yu-Gi-Oh! Knowledge that I have, and it is very limited. But yeah, I do want to say thank you for sticking around and not giving up on these videos, because obviously there was a bit of a gap due to health reasons, but I'm coming at you with another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. In fact, let's stop delaying, let's stop beating around the bush, let's get right in to Yu-Gi-Oh! GX episode 30, Doomsday Day, part 2. Day. It is Doomsday Day. I, for one, celebrate Doomsday Day a day early so that I can get out of the way. But before we dive right into the meat of the story that is Yu-Gi-Oh! GX episode 30, Doomsday Day, part 2, let's remind ourselves what happened exactly previously on Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. That was my chumley. You guys are big into my Bastion where I'm all like, but you don't hear so much of my Chumley. And there it is, man, I'm eating food. So yes, previously on Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, in fact, in the episode prior to this one, we learned that some of the school staff and some of the students are going to be the Fellowship of the fucking Ring, apparently. Yes, the threat of the evil duelists, and I still don't remember their name, and I'm not looking it up until I find it, like, either in my notes or it's gonna come back to me, like, miraculously. I don't remember what they're called. Shadow duelists? Does that sound right? Shadow Riders. Are they Shadow Riders? Seriously, is that their name? Did I just remember it while explaining that I couldn't remember it? That would be amazing. I'm going all in on Shadow Riders. I think that might be what they're called. Mainly because it's just such a stupid name and makes them sound edgy as hell, so I think it's accurate. Anyway, yeah, a bunch of the teachers and the students have got a bunch of these weird sort of Tetris sacred necklace things, and they have to protect these so that the Shadow Riders, which I think is their name, don't get their hands on them. And they have to defend them in card games individually. Why you can't just put them in a safe or lock them away for safekeeping where people don't know where they are is anybody's guess. But no, put them around the necks of several main characters in the show so that everybody knows where they are, especially the bad guys, so that card games will eventually happen. I feel like that was the priority when they put this plan together. They were like, what will get us the most card games out of this? Not what will be safest. But yes, it is apparently the sacred duty of some of the teachers, like Professor Banner and Dr. Crowler, and a bunch of the students, just little kids, who go to Duel Academy to protect these sacred artifacts. What's next? Is the school janitor gonna be the chosen one? He spends his days cleaning up the kids' throw up, but he's also got magical mystical powers and is gonna save the world. And then the mysterious character known as Night Shroud showed up, and he challenged Jaden to a card game in the bloody active volcano on Academy Island, which would be way cooler if it wasn't happening to Jaden and the person issuing the challenge wasn't called bloody Night Shroud. More like night more like night night. I'm saying all these variations on his name, but they're all gonna be censored, so it's gonna kill the joke. But he may as well be called Night Twattington. Night watch out behind you, Night bad stuff will find you, Night. A little bit of a Sega CD reference for you there. Also, if Jaden loses the duel, he loses his soul. I can reference my show too. But before we get back into the action as it is occurring, we get that banger, the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX opening theme. #1 on iTunes right now. Don't check. I wouldn't lie about that, ever. Who do you take me for? Night. I'm not him. Oh yeah, and don't forget, this part of the show is called Rise of the Sacred Beasts. It was almost called Sacred Beasts and Where to Find Them, but they didn't want it to be boring as shit. Anyway, we jump right back into the hot dueling action, and it's only hot because they're in a volcano. It's actually quite tepid. And we see that Jaden has 700 life points, whereas Night Shroud has 3,000. Oh, and by the way, Night Shroud is clearly Alexis's brother. I mean, it's only obvious if you've been paying attention to the story. But I mean, who's watching card game sequel high school show for that? Cyrus and Chumley are in a bit of a pickle. I mean, they're in an orb of magical light that is keeping them trapped inside where they can't do anything to help their friends, but for all intents and purposes, a pickle. Jaden reassures his close friends that he loves.
This orb's going gonzo fast! Just hang in there! Actually, let's hope it doesn't come to that.
You know, Jaden, I didn't want to think about Chumley hanging anything. Not his clothes, not hanging loose, and least of all, his genitals. And now we're all thinking about that, aren't we? So the last episode ended with a huge cliffhanger where Jaden drew a card and he put all of his faith in it, but he didn't reveal what it was. It could have been literally anything, and the audience was on the edge of its seat. And then in this episode, he reveals that it was pot of greed. Yes, the cliffhanger card that he needed to be exactly what he needed it to be was a card that just gave him 2 more cards. Jaden then uses Defusion on Rampart Blaster, which removes it from Attachment Dragon's clutches. Somebody sent me an Attachment Dragon in an email the other day. It was terrifying. The 3rd degree burns, man. Funny email, though. I feel bad, though, because now Attachment Dragon's gonna have all kinds of separation anxiety. Might as well call it Separated Dragon now. and also give it a nice hug. Jaden has this to say about traumatizing Attachment Dragon.
An attachment dragon? Attach yourself to the graveyard!
Attachment Dragon, attach yourself to being dead. Because you are dead. That's basically what he said. Jaden then activates Fusion Sage, which isn't a herb that you can use in fusion cuisine, but instead is a spell card that lets you draw polymerization from your deck. Jaden then uses polymerization to fuse Clayman with Speak Me. Speak me! Speak me! In order to summon elemental hero Thunder Giant. Wasn't that the name of the movie that they were all trying to see in that one episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Does elemental hero Thunder Giant hang dong? These are questions that you will only learn the answers to by continuing to watch this terrible video. Thunder Giant and Red Eyes appear to be equally matched.
It's an even matchup.
Yes, everyone knows that Dragon cancels out Giant Robot Thunder Suit. Classic rock, paper, scissors, Dragon, Giant Thunder, Robot Suit rules. Jaden is all fired up.
All right, time to see who blinks first!
Well, it is an anime, so they don't really have blinking in the animation budget. So you're gonna be waiting a while for that, Jaden. Both duelists command their respective monsters to do their trademark attacks at each other. Even though it's Jaden's turn, so all Night Shroud is doing here is posturing. The monsters have a short-lived beam battle that ends with both of them falling into the lava below. And Night Shroud is very confused.
Both destroyed?
Or did they not teach you basic math in the dark Doomsday cult that you joined? Math just isn't edgy enough. Alexis asks,
But what was the point, Jaden?
well, he does still have a monster on the field, you giant dink. So he's obviously setting up for another attack. Have you just started watching card games recently? Why would you do the one move that destroyed his one monster when there's... what? Why would you attack him so that you could attack him again with a different thing? I don't get it. Jaden explains, just like I said, that he's still got Burstina on the field. Duh. And Burstina attacks Night directly with bursts of fire out of her hands. Oh, she's the fire starter, twisted fire starter. Wow, 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 wow. Now Night Shroud is down to 1800 attack points, and Jaden mocks him for this. And Jaden is kind of frustrated that Night Shroud isn't giving more of a performance.
Ah, come on! Aren't you gonna flinch or anything? How about a wince? Can I get a cringe?
Oh, trust me, Jaden, you'll get plenty of those. Also, can I point out that Night Shroud's refusal to play along with the cringing and the flinching, etc., only proves my point that they're all just acting when they get hit by stuff. They're all just playing it up. They're not actually getting hurt. It's part of the act. It's theater. It's dual theater. So now I'm gonna be judging the hell out of these guys when they get hit by an explosion or like a lightning thing and they don't react very well. I'm gonna be very judgy. If I don't have some good acting, Oscar quality acting in my duel, then it is not up to snuff. Jaden plays the card Mirage of Nightmare, which means that when it's his opponent's standby phase, he can draw cards until he's got 4 in his hand. But then during Jaden's standby phase, he has to discard from his hand the same number of cards that he drew to the graveyard. Wow, what a dull and overly convoluted card that probably just slows down the action a smidge. You can see why it's called Mirage of Nightmare. Night Shroud draws, and because of his last card that he played, Jaden points out that it's also his turn to draw some cards. Mirage of Nightmare! But Jaden is having none of it.
Just don't forget to discard the same amount of cards you draw next turn, Kay?
Actually, Night Shroud, I was kind of thinking that maybe I wouldn't.
A Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime character brazenly choosing to ignore the rules of the game? Surely not! This is just unprecedented. Jaden activates emergency provisions, which means if he destroys one of his cards on the field, he gains 1,000 life points. And he chooses to destroy the still in play Mirage of Nightmare. Well, I for one am glad that Mirage of Nightmare had this brief time in the episode to establish what a spooky and scary and dangerous card it is. Oh, Mirage of Nightmare! Got destroyed by a bunch of snacks! And then we get a shot that pans up Alexis's body just to establish that she is thinking to herself,
Now Mirage's discard rule is no longer in effect.
oh, an easily avoided rule. Truly, it was a mirage of nightmare. Night Shroud summons Mirage Dragon, a giant yellow dragon with bright blue hair. I feel like John Leguizamo played this thing in the Spawn movie. Night Shroud clarifies that despite Mirage Dragon's name, his attack is no illusion, and it shoots an LGBTQ-themed beam of energy at Bustina, destroying her because she's an LGBT cutie. I'll get my code. Jaden falls to one knee and his life points drop to 1300. Jaden gets back up and says he won't let it end here. Why would it end here? You've still got life points, mate. Night Shroud says,
You don't have to. Mirage Dragon will end it for you.
Should have just called him Night Snark. Nah, Night is better. You seen that little Night running around at night on his Night hang glider that lights up on fire when he's done being a Night? Yeah, well, little in their magical bubble, Cyrus says that if they don't make it through this, then he wants Chumley to know he loves him.
I just want you to know that you've been a great friend. I love you.
Hurry, Jay! Sai's getting mushy!
And we know the only mushy thing that Chumley likes is mushy peas. 'Cause food. Alexis tries to get Jaden to focus as their friends are in danger.
Jaden, that orb's disappearing fast.
Yeah, well, not as fast as that Mirage Dragon's about to.
Yeah, Mirage Dragon's very socially awkward. He just tends to leave as soon as he's summoned. Especially when there's a party happening. It's very awkward. Jaden subbles Bubbin Man. Jaden summons Bubble Man. Jaden then announces loudly to everybody that he's going to be using the card Silent Doom next.
I'm gonna use right now, Silent Doom. It lets me summon one monster from my graveyard to the field in defense mode.
It's not very silent, is it? Hey, why is this card called Silent Doom? I don't know! Let's make a card called Silent Doom in Yu-Gi-Oh! So that whenever the anime characters have to talk about it, they sound very inappropriate because they're yelling about it! This summons Elemental Hero Sparkman in Show Me Your Dang Butt mode. And then Jaden activates Fusion Gate. And then a bunch of dark, ominous clouds start to form in the air above them. Which I guess means there's gonna be a storm inside a volcano? You're gonna have to enlist the aid of both Tommy Lee Jones and Piers Brosnan to deal with this one. The weather report for Academy Island is gonna be weird. Jaden taunts his opponent.
Oh yeah, the storms are coming, and it's coming for you, Night Shroud.
What, Jaden, you don't think a guy with the name Night Shroud is gonna be prepared for a light drizzle inside of a volcano? I think he is. He almost set himself on fire earlier, and he doesn't have a single hair out of place. I think he's ready for your little drizzle. Jaden uses Fusion Gate to fuse Bubbleman, Sparkman, and Avion to fusion summon the mighty elemental hero Tempest. And Tempest is like a cool-looking cool guy with armor on and Avion's wings as sort of his own little metal wings. Mirage of Nightmare. Sorry. Doing this makes me think of that. I know I've probably made this joke already, and I don't really care if I did, but he looks like all of the lamest X-Men got into a Star Trek-style transporter accident. Tempest then shoots a water laser at Mirage Dragon, destroying it. Yeah, a water laser. Laser beam made out of water. Night Shroud's Night life points drop to Night 600. Night. Should have called this episode Doomsday Night. Part 2. Jaden is excited that Night Shroud finally flinched for him. Meanwhile, Night Shroud tries to explain the difference between his YouTube streams and his Twitch streams.
That was a Twitch. It's not the same.
Night Shroud is quick to point out that it's not about how many life points you have, but what cards you have that dictate victory. Yes, somebody had to explain to somebody else in a show about a card game that the cards matter. Feels like it should have been obvious. And then Night Shroud's like, and if you don't believe me, maybe this card'll prove it. And Jaden's like, bullshit. Jaden Yuki, the protagonist in a show all about card games, whose deck is almost entirely based on what cards he currently holds in his hand and what he does with them, is like, nah, it's not about cards in your hand, what you on about? Meanwhile, fusion summon, fusion summon, fusion summon. We then get a bunch of shots of the beautiful volcano and its surrounding foliage, which is probably the highlight of the episode so far. Much more exciting than what's going down inside the bloody volcano. And then we see that some of the bubbles on the surface of the lava within the volcano are transforming into dragons? Apparently, what's going on? Night Shroud doesn't really bother to explain any of what we just saw, but he does summon Red Eye's Black Chick. And then we see a red dragon egg emerge from the lava and start to hatch, whereupon we see two tiny pinpricks of red eyes within it. Careful now, you bring an egg into things, Jaden's just gonna try and make an egg witch out of it. Ah, Red Eye's Black Dragon Chick flavored egg witch. I love it. That is Jaden. Night Shroud says,
You see, by sending Chick to the grave, I'm allowed to summon for my hand his daddy, the full-grown Red Eye's Black Dragon!
But won't Red Eye's Black Daddy be super pissed that you just murdered his kid? I mean, I wouldn't want to work for you. Maybe he just isn't very attached to his offspring. Night Shroud then sacrifices Red Eye's Black Dragon in order to replace it with Red Eye's Darkness Dragon. Night Shroud, you still haven't explained what's going on with all these dragons coming out of the bubbles in the lava. I mean, I feel like that's kind of a...
Now, the molten ashes of my fallen dragons boil up from their fiery graves, ablaze with new life, each granting my Red Eye's Darkness Dragon 300 additional attack points!
Oh, so that's what's going on with that. Well, at least he explained something. Thanks to all the dragons in his graveyard, Night Shroud's Red Eye's Darkness Dragon's attack is now 4,500. The lava slowly disappears from Red Eye's Darkness Dragon's body, and it kinda looks like a gem-encrusted Red Eyes with 6 wings, cause you know, you gotta have that many. Why do you gotta have 6 wings, Red Eye's Darkness Dragon? What's that about? Overcompensating a little bit, I think. Night Shroud makes one final declaration of victory.
It's over. The Spirit Key, your friends, your soul. With Darkness Dragon's attack, they're all mine!
Aw, he just wanted to have a bunch of friends. That's kind of... Wait, you wanted Jaden's soul? What do you want to do with it? If I had Jaden's soul, I'd probably just put it on the mantelpiece and forget about it, because it's that worthless. It would just turn out to be a minor talking point at most of my social gatherings. What's that then? Oh, that's Jaden's soul. Yeah, I've got that. What's it do? Not much. It kind of just sits there and is off-putting. Oh. What else you got? Red Eye's Darkness Dragon shoots infernal dark fire at Jaden. And while it's doing this, it gets a purple aura around its body because, you know, nothing indicates magical things are happening better than the color purple. That Oprah Winfrey movie, full of sorcery. She played a sorcerer in that movie. Most people don't notice, but it's subtle, but it's there. Jaden activates his trap card Negate Attack, don't know what that does, and Tempest is saved from the fires of hell by a nice little bubble.
That's right, your attack's been cancelled.
Yes, the attack made one too many jokes about women staying in the kitchen, and now it's cancelled. Hashtag fire infernal dark fire. Jaden explains that Negate Attack negates Night Shroud's attack. And Night Shroud can't attack till next turn.
Oh well, till next time.
Yes, same night time, same night channel. We zoom out of the volcano and go over to the much more exciting lighthouse area, where Zane is holding one of the magical Tetris blocks in his hand and thinking about Alexis's boobs.
There's something amiss. A Shadow Rider.
I knew it was Shadow Riders! I fucking knew it! I didn't really know that I knew it, but I knew it. Shadow Riders. It's a stupid name, but it's kind of cool in a late 90s, early 2000s kind of way. And I remembered it. Anyway, Zane is clearly just upset because nobody came to his poetry jam. He's really sad about it. At his computer at night, Bastion stops looking at arithmetic porn long enough to realize that something is amiss.
The Spirit Gate key. It's shaking.
And if Chancellor Shepard had explained what that means, then I might have an appropriate reaction prepared. But instead, I'm just gonna go, Over at Chaz's dorm, Chaz is trying to Chaz it down and Chaz some Z's. But that upsetting little yellow Ojama Yellow is standing over him trying to shake his booty. Chaz sits up in bed and it causes Ojama Yellow to fly hilariously off screen. And we as the audience get to imagine the blender that he lands in, which automatically turns on and just destroys him. He is dead now. And then we see Professor Crowler, who is fast asleep underneath a frilly little duvet with hearts all over it. I, for one, appreciate the fact that Dr. Crowler shops at the same furniture store as Mr. Blobby. Oh, and he has one of those eye masks that has anime-style eyes drawn on them? What, did he confiscate that from Jaden and just started using it? That's weird. Professor Banner is just sort of standing outside, staring up at the volcano with Pharaoh the cat clutched to his chest. Bro! I know I asked for an upgrade to my kitty litter box, but that is just ridiculous. I'm not gonna poop in a volcano. Take me back to my boring old kitty litter box. Actually, Professor Banner was standing outside because this is the only spot on the entire island where Pharaoh the cat will pee. He refuses to do it otherwise. He's a very difficult pet. In Duel Academy itself, Chancellor Shepard apparently lives in his office and he's sitting there chastising himself.
What were you thinking, Shepard? Getting your students involved in a battle with such stakes? But then, what other choice did you have?
I mean, you could have chosen to not do that. Seems like a pretty reasonable choice.
After all, if those Shadow Riders get a hold of those 3 Sacred Beast cards...
Ah, I knew they were called Shadow Riders. I already bragged about this. I don't care.
They'll be destroyed no matter what. We all will.
So either way, your students are in danger of being killed. So next time, maybe don't build your school on top of Dark Magic Central. Back to the volcano, and we get a nice, lovely shot of everyone's collective buttocks. Yay! Jaden takes his turn and summons Rottweiler in defense mode, and then places Tempest in defense mode as well.
Then I'll call it a turn.
That's funny. You know what I call it? A waste of time.
Well, yeah, that's what this whole thing is. Have you not noticed this? Night Shroud reminds Jaden that right now time is of the essence, especially for his friends who are about to be deep fried. And of course, Chumley says,
Deep fried? I'll never be able to look at a French fry again.
Okay, first of all,
He's fat!
and secondly, now I'm just picturing Chumley blindly shoving French fries in his mouth without looking at what he's putting in his mouth, which is quite terrifying. Just throwing French fries and whatever else he grabs into his gullet with abandon. Oh, and thirdly,
He's fat!
the action is really heating up. Again, mostly because they're in a volcano and not because of anything that's actually happening, but still, temperate.
It's hotter than my dad's hot sauce in here!
It's over, Chumley. Night Shroud has the high ground. Night Shroud, the shadow duelist who hides his face behind a dark and disturbing mask, has this to say.
La-di-da, what to do, what to do.
What? Ah, yes. Night Shroud, at least as frightening as Mirage of Nightmare. Night Shroud summons Spear Dragon in thick mode. Because he is thick. Night Shroud attacks Rottweiler with Spear Dragon, who opens his giant creepy creep mouth and fires a bolt of green energy out of it. Out of the creepy creep mouth that he has. It is creepy. Rottweiler is sent to the graveyard, which allows Jaden to use its special ability to draw a polymerization and an elemental hero from the graveyard. Weirdly, that is the exact plot of A Dog's Purpose. The dog keeps dying and its owner keeps getting polymerization and elemental hero cards sent to him in the mail. It's a weird movie. Book? Who reads books? When Jaden puts the cards in his hand, he suddenly feels intense pain, and a bolt of green energy shoots out of his chest. Turns out when Spear Dragon attacks a defense position monster, the difference between Spear Dragon's attack and the defense position monster's defense points is dealt to the owner. You know what? I'm just gonna say it deals piercing damage, because that's what it does. It deals piercing damage. That's what it is. You don't have to say, the difference between the attack and... Shut up. Piercing damage. And then Spear Dragon automatically switches to defense mode. I get it, you know, if I had a massive schnoz like that, I'd be overly defensive too. Then Night Shroud turns to Tempest and says that since Jaden can save him from being destroyed by sending one card on his side of the field to the GY, Night Shroud is instead gonna get rid of the card on Jaden's side of the field by using Mystical Space Typhoon. Brilliantly named card. Mystical Space Typhoon destroys Fusion Gate. No! Now where are the crystal gems gonna go if they wanna f***? Red Eye's Darkness Dragon once again attacks with Infernal Dark Fire. I actually really like this attack name because it is the word dark surrounded by 2 completely superfluous words for fire. It's very edgy. Tempest is destroyed, Alexis's hair goes insane, and Jaden feels the force of the explosion. So he's now lying on the ground looking up into the sky through the top of the volcano. Oh, now he's got to call out to all the other duelists of the past who will each say a single line and help him to stand up. Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of the Sacred Beasts. Alexis says this duel must stop and explains that she has her own spirit key and she'll put her soul on the line if Night Shroud is willing to let her friends go. Night Shroud then stares at his sister for a good 10 seconds and thinks to himself, I know you. That's how I feel at most family gatherings, actually.
I know you.
Oh, what, they brainwashed you into forgetting your sister, but you can still remember Spear Dragon's special ability by heart. Like it's nothing. Other card game information memories stored in a different part of the brain than the sibling memories. Jaden slowly picks himself up, saying that he won't let Alexis take his place, not when he's about to win this game. And then Jaden delivers possibly the best comeback to any insult that I've ever heard.
He's delirious.
I am not. What I am is about to get my game on!
Yes, Jaden, you definitely got the better of that exchange. Jaden says it's now or never, and he summons elemental hero Wildheart. So you're going with never. Then Jaden activates the spell card Wild Half and says that Wild Half is gonna cut Night Shroud's monster in half. He's still learning his duel banter, guys. He's taking a class for it. Don't judge him, okay? Jaden explains that Wild Half will return Red Eye's Darkness Dragon to its original attack, and splits it by summoning a token monster with the exact same attack as it. So now there's 2 Red Eye's Darkness Dragons on the field, with 3,300 attack points each. Alexis helpfully explains that they still have such a high attack because of all the dragons in Nightyard's Grave Shroud. Next, Jaden uses polymerization to fuse both Elemental Hero Wildheart with Elemental Hero Blade Edge in order to fusion summon Elemental Hero Wild Edge. Oh. And it's just Elemental Hero Wildheart with some of Blade Edge's armor on. Not all of it, just some. Like he was packing his luggage and he just forgot to bring half of it. Yes, I would like a suit of armor that protects my right leg and maybe my shoulder, but I'll be damned if I'm leaving any other part of my body unexposed. Night Shroud scoffs at Wild Edge, imagine, and says that Wild Edge still has less attack than all of his dragons. Jaden refutes this by activating the field spell card Skyscraper, and much like with Night Shroud's dragons earlier, a bunch of lava shoots up out of the lava pit and turns into ginormous skyscrapers shooting into the sky. Of course, this is all happening inside of an active volcano, so it kind of feels like Jaden is a Bond villain revealing his secret lair to the hero. No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to get your game on. Jaden explains that Skyscraper gives his hero monsters an extra 1,000 attack points. So Elemental Hero Wildheart's attack rises to 3,700, and while this is happening, Wild Edge makes a noise that is not unlike having a yawn in mid-conversation. My thoughts exactly, Wild Edge. Night Shroud says, impossible! And then there's something about Alexis in this next shot that makes her look kind of like a Squirtle. I can't explain it, but you see it, right? Anyway, she says, all right! Wild Edge tries to make up for all the foolish nonsense that it caused as Wild Heart by attacking 3 dragons at once. But the problem is, Wild Edge, dragons are an endangered species, so you just committed a crime. Hope you're proud of yourself. Night Shroud's life points drop to 0, and Jaden says, that's game. But it sounds more to me like he says, that's Gabe, like he just recognized his friend across the room.
That's Gabe.
Lava starts bursting up here and there, and Jaden calls out to Sai and Chumley before collapsing. Alexis rushes over to Jaden, obviously to try and change his position, because people might look at him and think he's doing the I just lost a card game pose, which he clearly doesn't need to do, because, you know, he just won. As she gets to him, a bunch of fire surrounds them both and teleports them outside the volcano. Only you can prevent teleportation magic. Outside the volcano, we see Cyrus and Chumley deposited onto a flat surface via fire teleportation magic. So wait, these Shadow Riders not only build their hang gliders to burst into flame after a single use, but they also use fire as a primary mode of transportation? You know, they are literally playing with fire doing all of that. Cyrus and Chumley both get up, and they are reunited with Alexis, who apparently was also fire teleported nearby. Then they each spot Jaden, who is now lying on his back, despite having teleported out of the volcano, lying on his front. None of this makes any sense. The bottom has just dropped out of the whole thing for me. I mean, am I the only one who cares about the rules? Cyrus and Chumley beg Jaden to be okay, and then Alexis does the unthinkable and actually checks Jaden's pulse.
Come on, Jay.
Sai, he's fine.
What, you can tell he doesn't have a concussion from his pulse? He doesn't have any visible injuries, he must be fine. Alexis notices a Duel Monsters card on the floor, and when she checks it, it appears to be blank. But then the image of Night Shroud's mask surrounded by chains appears on it. Oh, it turns out this was all just promotion for Night Shroud's new shitty emo rock album, Infernal Darkfire, and that's the cover art. Alexis is relieved.
He's okay, which is more than I can say for Night Shroud. At least we'll be safe from him now.
Yes, but years from now, when you're hang gliding through the Swiss Alps on vacation, and you feel your hang glider start to catch fire behind you, you'll know who was responsible. Alexis walks over to where Night Shroud's body is, and when he stirs and sees her, he calls her Alexis, shocking her. We then see Bastion, Chaz, and Zane running together. Zane still very pissed because none of them showed up to his poetry slam. Cyrus explains to them that Jaden was challenged to a duel by a Shadow Rider. Chumley says it was a licious battle. There was lava, dragons, some talk of French fries. It's very rare that we get to add so many items to the licious list in one go. But I'm not about to look a licious horse in the mouth. Zane walks over to Alexis and is shocked to see her cradling Night Shroud and crying. Not entirely certain how to respond to actual emotions coming from Alexis, Zane just kind of stands there and stares, slack-jawed. Alexis emotionally explains,
It's him, Zane. It's him. I don't understand how, but it's him. I thought I'd lost him, but he's back. He's finally back.
Zane says, what are you talking about? Even though finding her brother has been the only thing these guys have talked about together, and it has been the sole motivation of her character in this entire fucking show. But no, yeah, what are you talking about? We then see Night Shroud's dreamy, unconscious, but totes a cutie with a big old anime man mullet face. And yeah, I guess that's her brother. Alexis puts two and two together and explains what happened to her brother.
It wasn't him before, but that card took away whatever darkness was holding him. He's back now.
Are you sure he wasn't just possessed by an Ascian? Final Fantasy XIV fans represent. Zane makes one last impromptu attempt to have his poetry slam.
And if this is how it is after you win a duel, just think what it's like when you lose. The sun may be coming up now, but night will fall again soon. And when it does, we must be ready.
Does being ready entail standing aimlessly by the lighthouse for hours on end every day? Because something tells me it does. And that's the end of the episode. Holy cow. It's been a while since I sat down and had to talk about a GX episode, and this was a doozy to return to because it was the second part of a very intense duel, a very exciting duel that took place within a volcano, and I kind of feel like I was a bit out of my element for doing this because, you know, I'm feeling a bit rough, but at the same time, it's a hell of a thing to return to, just Jaden dueling the evil Night Shroud, who is also Alexis's brother, above a boiling pit of lava. It's something. I don't know if I liked this episode. The duel was cool. Like, the duel was pretty cool. I don't really know how I feel about Night Shroud's entire shtick. His performance was kind of annoying. He was kind of like meant to be a very sort of shrouded in evil and sort of ruthless guy, but his whole performance was like, I don't like you, Jaden, you're a big jerk. Like, he didn't feel very special. It didn't really feel like the special duel that it kind of should have been, to me. I feel like if you're gonna have an event like revealing Alexis's brother after you've been teasing it from basically episode 2, it should feel a lot more of a big deal than it did. Not to say that this was bad. I didn't dislike the episode. I didn't enjoy it or was excited by it as much as I wanted to be. Especially considering we showed the volcano and we were inside there, and it was like, the lava kinda came into play a little bit, but it was mostly to tease Sai and Chumley with it. And that's just not as exciting as you think it is, TV show. And I'm still not entirely sure how the spirit keys work. They start vibrating when there's a Shadow Rider around, I guess. But it seemed like it waited until Night Shroud had started the duel and was halfway through defeating Jaden to be like, oh, by the way, guys, trouble. So I don't know how impressed I am with the spirit keys. They don't seem very good. I do like the idea of Jaden, Alexis, Bastion, Chaz, and Zane being on a team together because of it would be such a strange dynamic, you know? Like, those guys don't really like each other for the most part. It should be cool and fun and just, it should be playing out a lot more entertaining than it has so far. But I feel like maybe I'm selling it short. I feel like maybe things are going to kick off and it's going to feel really cool and epic, and maybe Alexis's brother will add something to the show that wasn't there before. In a good way? But anyway, never mind what I think, because please don't. Tell me what you thought in the comments, because it was quite an exciting premise for the episode, for this two-parter, the Doomsday Day. And please let me know how your Doomsday Day is going. Once again, I do want to give a whopping shout out to all of our Patreon pledges, all of our patrons who have pledged to the Patreon. That's what they do, patrons. Because honestly, we wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. And I haven't really been able to do it for the last couple of months because I've just been in a really bad way physically. And I'm sorry about that. I really am. But you guys were there for me, obviously, both in spirit and financially. And thank you for that. And thank you to everybody who has even thought about helping or has talked about it or has, you know, just watched one of the videos. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to all of the patrons, seriously. What am I going to do? I'm going to sit down and watch another episode of YGO GX. The next episode, which I think is another Shadow Rider duel. And I'm still really proud of myself for remembering that they were called Shadow Riders. I think that's a big deal. I'm sure all of you are like, how do you not know that they were called Shadow Riders? It's a big part of GX Season 1. And I'm here to tell you that I don't know anything about anything. And when I do know something about something, it is a big thing. So yeah, until next time, I just want to say to all of you, Mirage of Nightmare!
I think you're gonna like this surprise guest. Happy birthday to Gabe!
That's Gabe!
Night Shroud points out that it's not about life points. It's about what it's about fuck you. Jaden explains that Negate Attack negates Night Shroud's attack. No idea. At the velocity that it is currently shaking, it will be able to vibrate long enough to make me fucking What's happening?